Does your body type matter in dancing? Let's have a straight talk about that. Hello, my beautiful subscribers. Rasa the dancer is here. In this channel, I promised many times that we're always going to talk honestly, nicely, but honestly. And today we're going to have one of those honest conversations. So we're going to talk about, does it matter if you're very tall, very short, very skinny or bigger, very fit, very flexible, all of those things, how much of an impact it actually has. And just for you to feel like actually somebody talks about these things and you don't feel like you're living in your own head, and how much of it is a big deal when you're dancing in Latin dances. So without further ado, let me break it down. Before I get into the details, I want to stress very, very much this one particular point. In general, nothing really matters, because if you're dancing social dancing, a lot of people dance for different reasons. So there's all kinds of people in the dancing scene. So many people dance now. It's not a small community anymore. So you get all kinds of people, tall, short, bigger, smaller. So everybody's dancing with everybody anyway. And maybe some dance with others less than others, but there's so many people to dance with that ultimately you shouldn't be stressing about it if you're just interested in social dancing, having a good experience, right? So all these things that I'm going to be talking about is just something to keep in mind, or if you ever wondered about it, to have your questions answered. As I say, to not live in your own head. But overall, just remember, it's a freestyle social dancing. We're supposed to be dancing with everybody all the time, and we find ways to adapt to everybody that we're dancing with. So whatever happens, just keep on dancing. All right, first, let's talk about tall and short. So it goes both ways, women and men. Are you tall or are you short? So it really depends how you're going to feel depending where you are. So let's say if you are a tall woman, if you go to Lithuania or if you go to Scandinavia, you will not feel that tall. Even if you're like super duper tall, you will feel like you're still taller, but it's not going to impact the way you feel when you dance with people. Now, if you're going to go somewhere in Asia or something, you'll feel like, oh, this is a bit more complicated. So, and it goes the same way with the guys. If the guy is short and it feels like it's a little bit more complicated to do certain moves because every woman is tall, it depends where you are. So keep that in mind, because that's what makes us feel the way we feel, right? Now, let's go a little bit more in detail. If you are a tall woman, yes, if you're dancing with shorter guys, it will in certain places feel like you need to hunch and you need to adapt. But the important bit to know is whatever happens, never lose your posture. We teach leaders, whoever is leading, to adapt to the follower that they're dancing with. And maybe some haven't learned that skill yet, but they will as the time goes by. But what we don't want you to do is start looking ugly when you're dancing and lose your posture and potentially maybe hurt yourself and other things, right? So even though it seems like you should be doing that, you should avoid it. The leaders need to learn how to adapt to the person they're dancing with. We could soften our knees a little bit more, especially through the turns, because they need to reach, and that might help them out. But in general, they just need to learn how to adapt. Also, a big thing, there is such a thing that nobody talks about as your perfect height. There is that person who just, no matter what you do, body mechanics wise, it just works. Everything is connected in the right places. There is such a thing. But that's like a small percentage of people. And then you have a bigger percentage where it's more or less. And then you have another small percentage where it's really, really disconnected. So then you're trying to find different connection points when you're dancing. But it really is that simple. And we just kind of have to adapt. If we feel like we're always the shortest or the tallest, it's very good to talk to your teachers, because we have all kinds of tips and tricks and stuff and moves that we adapt to those kind of people. So then you learn how to still have a good time and, not worry about your height so much. But overall, knowing that there is such a thing as a perfect height, for sure, but knowing that that's also the smallest percentage, and then overall it's going to be just okay. Everything's going to mix and it's going to be fine. So that's not something you need to stress about, just something to be aware of. And remember, it really depends where you live. Okay, so now we're going to go into a little bit more sensitive topic, which is skinny and bigger. Now, this can get a little bit tricky, and it is what it is. So let's start with skinny. When I say skinny, I'm taking the more extreme side, not like just somebody who is their normal skinny weight, right? Just like going a little bit towards skinnier side. Even it's still their normal. It doesn't make your dancing complicated. Technically, no. You can be as skinny as you really choose to be, and it doesn't technically impact the moves. But this is the tricky part. Depending what kind of dance you do, if it requires to do a lot of body movement, if you are very skinny, visually, you have to train super hard to get specific effects of the way you want to look. Because when the body is only bones, it's really hard to do the body movement. Now, you will notice every different style has a different body type in general with professionals. So, for example, if you look at ballerinas, you will see that they are, of course, skinnier, right? So that is because they are doing pirouettes and they're being lifted all the time. And so they don't do a lot of like waves and lock and pop. And they're usually very long to create long, beautiful lines, right? Now, if you look at bachata, the girls tend to be a little bit curvier, not necessarily curvy or big or something, but we have meat a little bit on us. And that is visually very pleasant when we do all kinds of moving around, because then the body is adapting. So visually the aesthetics looks really nice. Now, again, I'm not saying that a skinny girl cannot look as nice doing all of those things, but I'm just saying it's harder because you have a lot of bones and you're going to have to learn how to maneuver to compensate with all of those angles. But besides that, it is what it is. Now, in terms of bigger, there is such a thing as a conversation. If you're curvy, absolutely fine, as long as you are healthy. Now, what I mean by healthy, if you're losing breath or you cannot keep up with the song and the rhythm and the tempo of the song, that means you need maybe to do more cardio in general and maybe just to look at why you're losing breath rather than anything else. That's the only side of it. Now, if you go from curvy into much bigger, then certain combinations that we do, you will feel like it's a bit more of a struggle, because we do all kinds of, when we're holding hands, we do all kinds of wraps and stuff. And sometimes when we wrap, I have long arms, so usually I don't have that much of a problem. But other leaders, when they wrap, they sometimes, especially if they're shorter or they have, shorter arms, they do struggle to get you in certain positions. Now, does it mean you have to do something about it? No, but then you cannot take it personally when you are in the class and we're teaching combinations that work on most of the people. You can't take it personally because, you don't feel like it's suited for you. Because the reality is most of the moves are suited for most. It's very rare when only special people can do it in class, the moves that we choose to do. So that is something then to think about, whether you want to actually think about your body weight or not. Entirely up to you. This is not a judgment. This is just a conversation. But so there is those things that are happening. So sometimes in the class, if you are over specific size and you're much bigger, it's great that you're dancing, because that means you are actually stepping into movement and healthy lifestyle. But it is going to be a bit more of a struggle to do certain combinations. But you should just then mentally understand it and be okay with it. Or if not, try to do something about it. And besides that, health. If you can breathe, if you can spin. I know some curly women, bigger women that spin much better than me, and they can last much longer. So in the end of the day, if you're happy with who you are and you can say, I'm healthy, I can do all these things and everything else, then it doesn't matter. All right, and final section I want to talk about is super fit, like muscular, and the section for flexibility. So super fit in general, is it wrong for dancing? Of course not. Dancers are athletes, all super fit and muscular. However, it comes a point like if you're like a bodybuilder or something and you're like super muscular, the only problem with the muscles is you have to make sure you stretch them. Like if you're really bulking up and you're really big and everywhere is muscular, you have to stretch, because in dancing we need reach, we need flexibility, and we need to be able to get in certain positions. So there's nothing wrong with being muscular. And as I say, a lot of dancers, they have big shoulder blades, this and that, all of that. But they stretch a lot as well. If you do not stretch, all of that muscle tightens. You won't be able to raise your hands high enough, and you're going to feel really uncomfortable. And also, you get tighter. So anytime you're doing body movement, it looks a little bit off. So you have to spend extra time on doing some movement, constantly movement, rather than just, lifting weight, in order to also allow your body to be able to catch that movement, because it requires in dancing. Now, with the flexibility side, of course, it's amazing if you're super flexible. The only thing with super over flexible people, you have to learn how to control it, because usually those flexible people, they're whether just naturally flexible or they have done some sort of gymnastics or something like that, And you have to learn how to not overstretch and hold positions, because when you just flex for the sake of flexing in dancing, that also doesn't look good. And also it feels strange. It's like almost like I'm choosing to go here, but you go 3 times more. And it's strange. It's like, I didn't even want to do it. I didn't choose it. I didn't go with you. So you have to learn how to control, to not overreach, just because you can, to be able to engage your muscles, create different shapes, and follow your partner. And I say follow because usually it's the girls that's going to follow us, that's going to be more flexible than the men. Come on. It is what it is. But overall, those sections, that's what they need to look for. So if you're a bit more muscular, you got to stretch. And if you're a little bit more flexible, you have to learn how to control, to not overdo it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Remember, these videos are for you. I really hope that I managed to reach you and maybe touch a subject that you've been thinking about for a while. Now, I am here for you. If you struggling with something, or if you have any questions, or you're going through a specific phase and you don't know what to do, comments are there for you. Just reach out to me and I will have a conversation with you, and we will find a way to actually resolve any issue you have. So leave me a comment and I'll help you out. And of course, if you have anything contribute to this conversation, please do that in the comment. Just make sure you do it in a nice way, because anytime you're gonna swear, I'm gonna delete you. I'm not one of those nice people that just let the people ramble however they want. If you're gonna say something, say it in a constructive way, or don't say it at all. Now, if you watched till the end, subscribe please, like the video, and of course, I'm gonna leave you here with more videos. Check out these videos for stretching. You actually might find it useful. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Mwah.